Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joanne Chestnut coming to you with my 15 minutes of faith. I decided to do it a little early today because I want to be doing something else later. So I'd like to try to build on where we started. So we've been talking about faith and demonstration of faith and, how to walk out this walk with God. So I think by now you all have figured out that because of my life work, not what I do for a living, but my life work is to help people to develop emotionally, to continue to grow and develop emotionally myself, but to help other people grow emotionally. And I try to couple that with spiritual growth and development because I believe the two of them together will make us really well rounded and dynamic individuals, able to be really helpful to others and able to be helpful to God for use for Him and His kingdom and edifying and building up others. So, anybody who really knows me, and those of you who know me for a really long time, know that I've always liked to talk. It's a gift for me, but to some people, it's not a gift, it's an annoyance. And I totally understand that because your gift is not for everybody. And that's something you have to grow to understand that sometimes I have people that I have deep conversation with. We talk about everything from politics down to, you know, what we're dealing with our children and just have deep conversation about who we are. There are some people that I have surface conversations with. If they're not talking about partying or turning up, they don't have much of a conversation that they want to talk to you outside of that. So your conversation with your ability to speak and go deep will be an annoyance to them. And so your gift is not for everybody. So that's the one thing I want to say. And once you start developing yourself emotionally and growing in the spiritual things of God, your gifts will become more apparent to you. So you'll be able to use them a little bit better. And guess what? People will reach out for you for those gifts and begin to ask you what it is you do. So, I have some friends who do things really well. I have a good friend who does a lot of decorating. Every time I have ever had a party at home when I lived back home, as a matter of fact, just recently I gave a birthday party for my sister, a surprise birthday party, and she showed up and showed out. And some people, one thing about a gift, and it's different from a skill or a talent. A skill someone can learn and be taught. Talented is being very good at the skill, right? And having a talent. And sometimes talents and gifts go hand in hand. But a gift is usually from God. God gives gifts, and there's not something someone else can take away. And usually people who have a gift for something, they do it for free. They love it so much. So that's how I am about teaching and about helping people reach their place of level of efficiency, where they're at their highest level of efficiency and operating in who they are. So she would show up. I gave my daughter a baby shower. I wasn't living in Boston, but I gave the party in Boston. And if you didn't know any better, you would have thought I worked really hard to decorate the place. The same with my sister's birthday party. She showed up and she just decorated the place. It's a gift she has. And I have another friend who cooks like nobody's business. That's her thing. And if you want to do some good eating, don't hang around her too long though, because she'll make you fat. I stayed with her for a little while I had moved back to Boston for a little while to help my daughter when she first had her baby, my baby girl. And boy, she was cooking. I had to say, look, stop. But anyways, I'm just touching bases on some people have a gift that they give to others. And my gift has always been communication. It's always been directed at being able to talk, having the gift of exhortation, being able to speak to others and in front of others. The newest thing for me is getting on video. Because, people say the camera makes you look fatter. I didn't need nothing to make me look fatter. But I had to get over all that so that I didn't miss the mark in life. And I didn't want to go back home to my father with nothing that he gave me to give to the world. So I had to get on past that and start doing what it is that I'm gifted to do. And it is communicate, exhortation, help people get to their place. I like to help people restore emotionally to get back what they feel they've lost through emotional trauma, through childhood events, through crisis. Okay? So first, I want to talk a little bit about communication since it happens to be my gift. I want to talk about some ways to have good communication skills. And we're just going to go over a few points Active listening is one of them. So that when you're talking to someone, you're listening to them, even if you have an opinion, that you're not already thinking in your head what the answer is before they even finish. They're talking, and in your head, you're calculating what you're going to say, and you're anticipating your response. So you can't be actively involved with them. You can't be actively listening because you're thinking too hard about what it is you want to say, your point of view, or your response is already in your head, so you can't get all of what they have to say. So you have to listen and let you be that sounding board for people, that you're actively hearing what they have to say. And I'm telling you, you will be that for some people, but you'll also need some people who will listen to you. Because as I said, I talk a lot, so that's not for everybody. I have those people that, I have a sister-in-law and we talk on the phone, and we look like 3 hours have gone by. But when I tell you we really enjoy it, it's not that often. We can't do it that often. But when we do it, it's what we feed to each other. So everybody's not going to be able to do that. So make sure that you have someone who are on both sides, someone who listens to you, and someone you can talk to who can take that type of conversation that you need to get out. I have many people, new and old, who tell me on a regular basis that, it's easy for me to talk to you. It's easy for me to be myself and talk to you. And that's just, I feel so blessed when that happens, especially for those people that are dear to my heart and I really care about them. It's what I have to give them. So I want to talk about another point called that I say, pause first before you speak when someone's talking. This is not stuff that I readily know how to do all the time. I'm guilty of doing the opposite of it many times, but I want to tell you that I have the knowledge of it. I understand it. I know that it exists. I know it's what helps good communication. So I'm not always perfect at it. Sometimes I fail, and I fell short, especially if you're talking to someone you're emotionally attached to, like your children or your spouse. You could be talking to your wife or your husband, and you do differently with them than you would if I'm talking to a patient, because I'm a nurse. So I'm able to use this a little bit better when the relationship is a therapeutic relationship. I'm now learning how to bring this into my household and do this when I'm talking to my husband, do this when I'm talking to my children who are grown adult children, no longer young kids. So it's a process, and it's an ongoing process. And if you're cautious and take the time to really think about it, you can grow in it like I am. The other point is to make sure that the conversation is two-way. As I said, I talk a lot, so sometimes I have to be careful. I hear myself. And what makes me hear myself is that my baby daughter happens to be, actually, both my daughters are like me in the way that they have good conversation. They can talk. If anybody knows them, they are well endowed with speech. They can talk. So when we're talking to each other, we overlap each other a lot. So when they do it to me, I stop them, but right away I can hear myself in them. And I'm like, geez, Lord, it makes me want to do better when I hear someone else doing it. Just like, if you were a woman and you hear another woman talking and she's just cussing and cussing and cussing, it kind of makes you check yourself a little bit, like, gee, that's how I sound if I'm doing it or when I do it. And it makes you not want to do that thing. So watching others and learning and listening from others is a good way to develop and grow yourself. I always told my children, experience is a teacher, but it's a school for fools. You don't have to go to every single class to learn something. I believe you if you tell me that you jumped off a certain wall and you broke your leg. I don't need to break mine to believe you. I can just go according to what I've seen, and I can live vicariously through you. So, sometimes you just learn from others. There's an acronym that I use called CARE. The C is for connect and be attentive. And connect on the level that the person is. Don't be talking over people's head and trying to use big words and trying to sound intelligent. That's good for a boardroom. That's good for a professional business meeting. But when you're just talking face to face to somebody, make sure you're making a connection with them and meeting them where they are and being present with them. The A is for appreciate and acknowledge. Appreciate their point of view. Listen to what they're saying. Feel it. Get and say, man, a lot of times when I'm talking to people, that's people who do talk to me, because I don't talk to everyone and everyone doesn't talk to me. But those who do, they often hear me say, man, I feel you. I understand. I get it, because I'm there with them. And I can identify with them. The R is for respect. respect your differences, because sometimes I'm talking to someone, I'm like, I just don't see that like that. My children, my husband, my colleagues, and I just don't see your point of view. It's not the point of view I take. But as I said on the video the other day, sometimes it's not about who's right. It's just what's right and what's right for the situation. And that old adage that we have to agree to disagree. So just respect other people's point of view. This doesn't mean that you have to agree with it, but just respect it. And the E finally in the acronym for CARE is to empower and encourage others and what it is they feel. Encourage them to be proactive with their choices or decisions, or be proactive with expressing themselves a little bit more, or just doing what it is that makes them feel well inside. So those are the things about communication that I wanted to talk about. Just go back, active listening, being in the moment and actually listening to what someone's saying, pause and avoiding giving an immediate reaction before someone can even finish. Make sure the conversation is two-way, and the CARE, which is connect, appreciate, respect, and empower. So as you know, what I try to do when I do this is I always try to mix scripture and my spiritual background with what I do for life so that you can apply these things. So I just want to read a little proverb. I'm reading in Proverbs 18 and I'm starting at verse 2. It says, and I read from different Bibles, so it's not always King James, so it may sound a little different. And I read from 2 or 3 different Bibles, so sometimes it might just read differently. But this one says this. This is my life application study Bible. Okay, Proverbs 18:3 says, Proverbs 18:2 is where I'm starting, and I'm going to verse 8, 18:2 and 8. I try to give you these so you can go and research it and read it yourself and glean from it, okay? So 18:2 says, fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. When the wicked arrive, contempt, shame, and disgrace are sure to follow. A person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are refreshing as a bubbling brook. It is wrong for a judge to favor the guilty or condemn the innocent. Fools get into constant quarrels. They are asking for a beating. Again, fools get into constant quarrels. They are asking for a beating. Proverbs 18:7 says, the mouths of fools are their ruin. Their lips get them into trouble. What dainty morsels rumors are, but they sink deep into one's heart. So this is not just talking about being a good communicator. It's about having wisdom. And the difference between all you know is knowing when to use it. So I talk about that a lot, even when it comes to spirituality. There's a time and place to be talking to people about the Bible and to be quoting scripture. I can recall so many times that I was hurting and going through, or someone had died, particularly when my mother died, or, a close person to me was killed. And I can remember really hurting over that and having someone saying to me, well, to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord. I know it, but it's an appropriate time for that. So there's an appropriate time for whatever it is you have to say to somebody. So timing is as important as the good communication skills. These things that I've given you, these pointers about communication, they work, but they work at the right time. Not when you're angry, not when you're waiting to blurt something out to someone to let them know you disagree with them. Because guess what? If you're doing things like that, and if you always only have your opinion, you could have something really valuable to give to someone. But if you do it in the wrong way, they miss the message because they only see you. They only hear you. If you're always ranting and raving and complaining, people stop hearing your message. This is all stuff that I work on. And it's okay to have shortcomings, and, we all fall short. The difference is be sure that you're recognizing your own faults and shortcomings so that you can rectify them and not just rectify them, and not just identifying others, because you can't, what someone else eats doesn't make you fat or skinny. You have to do the work for yourself so that you're this dynamic individual. You are growing. And then the lives of the people you are in will change. It will develop. It will grow. You will see the fruit of your life in other people. And there's no greater blessing than that. So again, my gift is communication. I hope that is blessing you. I know it's been an annoyance to some, but I'm hoping that in these days and times that this gift that I've been given, that I'm using in the appropriate manner. This is my 15 minutes of faith, and I will see you guys tomorrow if it is God's will. Have a good evening.